All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Mary Beth McAndrews from Dread Central, and I am here today with the incredible director and cast of the film The Artifice Girl that just had its world premiere at the Fantasia Film Festival. I'm here with writer, director, and star Franklin Ritch, star Sinda Nichols, Tatum Matthews, and David Girard. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Well, hello.
Hey. Well, once again, congratulations on the world premiere. Very exciting. But Franklin, my first question for you is very basic, but where did the idea for the Artifice Girl come from?
Right. Well, thank you. Yeah. So I had read several articles many years ago about the kind of technology that was being used to catch criminals and predators and things like that. And I always just thought that was a really, kind of interesting. It wasn't until 2020 when, I guess, while sort of thinking about what kinds of conversations these people developing this stuff, what kind of conversations they would have behind closed doors. At one point, there was just a connection made between like the adolescence of artificial intelligence in our sort of current day and age, and then just sort of drawing a thematic line between that and just childhood and childhood trauma and child abuse. And for some reason, that little parallel just is what kind of that's what made me say, all right, this is a story that I think we need to tell. It was that little discovery.
Cool. And this is a sci-fi movie, but it's so different from, I feel like, any sci-fi I've ever seen. And so what was that like, and how kind of did you see this as a sci-fi film and then conceptualize it in such a unique way?
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely not your typical sci-fi. I mean, I know people have been sort of talking about how science fiction isn't just about the flying cars and the characters with transparent bodies so you can see their gears and cogs and stuff. It's this obviously was we knew from the get-go was going to be dialogue driven and take place in real time. Almost as if, as many people have pointed out, kind of like a stage play. So we knew kind of that this wasn't going to be a typical, high budget sci-fi, but it was still going to be high concept. And therefore, we wanted to put all of our chips down on the characters and the emotions that they experience, their interactions with each other, and use that as a way to lure the audience in and keep them engaged. Yeah.
And so Tatum, you're incredible in this movie as our AI, as Cherry. And so what was that like for you? So Cherry is so much in this film is a screen. So what was that like to go to really just be acting almost through a screen, like talking at people rather than being in the room with them?
Yeah, it was kind of definitely difficult because I was in a whole different room and just staring into the camera and kind of hearing them through the other wall, but very quietly. I definitely studied a lot off of Alexa to practice being a computer program. But I think it was a really fun challenge, and I'm glad I was able to play the role.
Okay, so you were in another room and you could hear all the other actors talking. Oh, I was curious how you guys pulled that off.
Just to clarify, yeah. None of the shots of the screen were composited. That was all happening live. We had set up Tatum's little white void set just in the adjacent room and fed a very long HDMI cable into the television so that we could all interact with her. But again, Tatum had this extra challenge because she could only faintly hear us and she couldn't see us. She just had, and so that was just all the more impressive on her part, performing Cherry the way that she did.
Wow. And then, so Franklin, Sinda, and David, you guys are like our threesome that kind of guide throughout the film, and you have some pretty intense conversations, to put it very lightly. I'm starting with Sinda. I wanted to ask you, like, what was it like getting into the headspace of these characters and taking on this kind of pretty heavy subject matter?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that was most helpful is Franklin had David and I watch a YouTube video about two police officers in Jacksonville interrogating someone. And that really turned my head around because it was so intimate and it was so powerful and it was so disturbing. that I realized that whole beginning interrogation scene was just needed to be really authentic and really personal and in a weird kind of way intimate.
Yeah.
But so your question about getting into the head of the subject matter, it was difficult. I mean, it's really troubling. And then to know that my character actually had an experience in her, you know, the background of her life. So there was that level. And it was rich material to work with. I mean, it's very satisfying as an actor to be handed something like that. And working with David, we've worked together before. So I think it's really nice. And Franklin and I've worked together before. So when you're dealing with a heavy subject matter, it's really nice to be with people who you feel very comfortable with and relaxed. So I think that helped a lot.
Cool. And then David, the same question for you.
Well, my dad was a cop, and so he would interrogate us. So I kind of like channeled him, but he was more of the bad cop. But having working with Sinda before, being good cop, so to speak, to her bad cop, having that comfortability, it was interesting getting into the character. But I found that part wasn't as difficult as the ethical and morality part of how we treat AI, and how we view it, and not as a tool. Because I went into it kind of like Franklin's character, thinking of AI more as a tool. So it was harder for me to get into the opposite of of thinking of AI in that way. So that was more challenging than the interrogation part.
Oh, cool. Yeah, did anyone else's perspective on AI change filming this? 'Cause I know watching it, my perspective on AI definitely changed. So yeah, does anyone else have that experience being a part of this film?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think I know I did. Like I said, I'd never viewed it through that lens of actually, should they have rights or not? At what point do we give them rights? At what point do we allow them to make decisions? So I had never looked at AI through that lens. So for me, yeah, it definitely changed my perspective, especially how we view intelligence and how we should treat it. So for me, yeah, it definitely changed my perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Franklin,
absolutely.
for you writing it and like being so into it, like has that kind of changed did you go in with one idea about artificial intelligence and come out with a different perspective?
Sure. I know it definitely, I think one of the best realization I had was, talking to people who specialize in ethics and AI, because apparently that's an entire field. I think it's is it Stanford? One of the prestigious colleges just started a new department for ethics and technology. So it's like it's a trending topic now. And even 2 years ago, there were some people that I was able to talk to, and this question came up, like, okay, in this scenario where you have an insanely advanced artificial intelligence that believes they can experience emotions, obviously we should be treating that intelligence with compassion and respect. But does that mean that we need to be, polite to Siri and Alexa? Does that mean that we can't, throw our phone? We shouldn't throw our phones across the room. And I think the great answer that I heard was, listen, it's not for the sake of the technology. It's not for the sake of the phone or the Alexa machine, but we should start doing that because it's going to instill habits in us that will be beneficial to have once that line gets closer to being crossed. And it might be that we don't recognize when that line gets crossed. So therefore we should start practicing treating these technologies and artificial intelligences with compassion and respect for that reason for us.
Huh. Wow. And so Tatum, what was it like for you to play the role of an AI, going from only digital to a I guess spoilers, recognized form? What was that like for you? Not just like acting wise, but also just thinking about these concepts about artificial intelligence.
Yeah, no, I think it's very relevant right now and can also be a big part in our future. So it's really good that a film is doing something like this right now. But as far as playing Cherry, in the beginning, I feel like I just thought she's hiding in the beginning, and she's putting up a front, and she just has her mode that you go into, which you can kind of relate to as humans, and you just like put on her front sometimes and put up a face. So she definitely relates to humans in that way. And then when she comes into the new form, I kind of just relate it to myself. And just being in that form, I don't know. I think she's just in a better place and can express herself more in that form and is not hiding as much.
And was it challenging for you at any point in tackling the script and these emotional beats that she's hitting? I mean, you have some pretty big moments, especially in the last act of the film. And what was that like for you to kind of access these deeper emotional reactions for the character?
Definitely. I mean, we had multiple Zoom calls, just with me and Franklin, and we would just talk through all of the lines, and if I didn't understand something, we'd go over it. But I think as far as connecting to the material, was really a big thanks to just Franklin, and Lance really helped with that. It's a great person to work off of, and I can just have all them to thank for it, because it's definitely a hard character to play, but it's a great script and just a lot of material to work with.
Yeah, how was working with Lance Henrikson?
So awesome. He is just such a wise guy, and it was just an amazing experience. And he's still got it. That's all I'll say. He's just the best person to be around. And he really just cared about the film and always just wanted to talk about it and talk through everything that was happening, and was super sweet and supportive the entire time.
That's amazing. And Franklin, how did Lance Henrikson get involved with this film?
Yeah, that was kind of miraculous, at least from my perspective, because I had never worked with anybody of that caliber, legend really, ever before. I never thought I would get to like this, but we made this film with a company called Paper Street Pictures, who were gracious enough to help us out in bringing this whole project to life. And they were the ones who got the script in front of Lance, because Lance was at the top of our list when it came to casting this role. And we didn't know who it was going to be or who we were going to get until after we had already shot Acts 1 and Act 2. And so but they got the script in front of him and he loved it. And on our first phone call together, talking about it, it was hours and hours of him just wanting to talk about the character and talk about the story. And he had done so much homework just already before even like that first call. He just cared so much about it. And on set, between takes, all he wanted to do was just workshop it and talk about, break things down. And he's amazing. I mean, everybody knows he's a legend, and it was so great to be a part of his journey, and also to get to pair up our rising star Tatum, who we kind of feel like we've discovered. So when she's going to be huge and successful, we'll be like, yeah, that was we helped with that. But getting to pair a rising star with a legend like Lance is, it's a dream come true for me. This was such an incredible project to work on. And I also want to add on Tatum doing her homework on all of the AI stuff and playing the role of Cherry. She went above and beyond with her research, and yeah, we did a lot of Zoom calls, because of COVID, where we did table work and rehearsals and stuff with everyone in the cast. But Tatum definitely went above and beyond with her research and her doing, and again, she had to memorize chess moves. Of course, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's choreography that she had to learn. There were so many things that she had to commit to, and she nailed all of it.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. So my final question, Franklin, for you is, if you could schedule a perfect double feature with the Artifice Girl, what film would you pair with it?
Whoa.
Oh my God, I was not prepared for this one. Oh boy.
Ah!
Oh no. Oh shoot. Well, I know a lot of people have compared it to Ex Machina, but I feel like, putting our humble film next to a film like that, I feel like is a little unfair to us. I mean,
I don't know about that. I think it's just
I know a lot of people have compared it to Primer, which is a big inspiration of mine, even though it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I do love the way that it kind of very sparsely sort of it walks you through this sort of fantastical sci-fi that's grounded in realism. But honestly, if I had to pick one film, I think it might be, strangely enough, Metropolis, which was a huge inspiration for this film. And even though it may not be evident on the surface level, there is definitely a lot of little Easter eggs and references to Metropolis scattered all throughout the film. But also just, I think that was sort of the original science fiction about technology and artificial intelligence. And I would kind of personally, I would love to watch the two back to back, just, almost selfishly. So I think that might be my pick.
Cool. Well, thank you everyone for taking the time to chat with me today about The Artifice Girl, which just had its premiere at Fantasia. It was incredible. Thank you guys so much.